Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Chris, and welcome to LinuxTechGeek. So in today's video, we're going to be doing something a little different. Mentioned in my community tab a couple of days ago that I wanted to do a Q&A type of video, and I wanted to answer some of y'all's questions in a video format because I know I'm starting to get a lot of questions here on the channel, and to be quite honest, guys, at first it was very easy to answer every single person's questions, and but that was when I didn't have as many subscribers. Now that I'm getting into the 700s here on the channel, thank you, by the way. It's getting harder and harder to answer each and every person's questions. So what I did today is I went ahead and I searched my channel. I looked at some of the questions that I have not answered yet, and I will try to answer those questions here on this video. And if I fail or if I miss your question, then leave your question again, or maybe I'll answer your question in a text format. And if I fail to do that, then wait till I do another one of these videos and ask your question again, and I'll make sure that I get to you. All right, so with all that being said, let's go over to the questions here. And someone had asked, I don't know how it could be done, but is there a way that you could figure out if your computer supports UEFI? And the answer to that question is yes, there is a way to figure out if your computer supports UEFI. Okay, you can go to your BIOS. Your BIOS will tell you if your computer supports UEFI. There is also a command here on Linux whenever you boot up into a bootable ISO. There is a command that you can enter in, and I'll try to leave that command down in the text below. But that command will tell you if you are using UEFI or if you're using MBR. Okay, the next question is, where can I get some of your dot configs? I've had quite a few of you guys ask me over the past couple months, hey, can I get that config? Or hey, what config are you using on this, on this window manager or on your NeoFetch or whatever? And you can find all of my configs on my GitLab. So my GitLab is gitlab.com/clsmith1. I'll also leave that down below as well. Someone had asked too about, apparently I messed up on one of my install videos. I messed up the time, right? I did some kind of clock skew, or I forgot the time or something like that, and I think I know what they're talking about, and I didn't mess it up purposely. But here on my Gentoo system, I run a dual boot system, okay? So whenever you run a dual boot system, you have to set your time to local time, because if you do not set it to local time, then you're going to have clock skew whenever you boot up into Windows or Mac or vice versa, right? So I'll always set my Linux time to local time. That way I don't have to go back in Windows and readjust that time and get all of that weird clock skew stuff going on. So I'm pretty sure that's what they was talking about. Someone had asked, could I take a look at Lazyboom? And yeah, I'll most definitely take a look at Lazyboom. I've never heard of Lazyboom. To be quite honest, I haven't even looked at the project yet, but I'm pretty sure we could take a look at it here, and then we could play around with it, see what its features are and everything. I don't use Vim a whole lot these days, but yeah, it might be a fun little video. And the final question, the Linux cast Matt over there at the Linux Cast, he asked, why Gentoo? And this is a good question. This is a very good question because I've actually received this question probably more than any other question I've ever gotten. Why do I run Gentoo? What's so damn special about Gentoo? Well, to answer that question, it's because Gentoo offers a lot of things that a lot of other distributions don't, right? For one, I like total control. I like total control over my packages, over what features those packages install. And for those of you who don't know, I've been running Gentoo since I was 17 years old. I'm 37 now. That's about 20 years. Now, I haven't ran it for 20 years consecutively, okay? I've ran other distributions in that time frame, but since I've been about 17 years old, I've always ran Gentoo. This is the distribution that I'm most comfortable with. This is the distribution that after I think I ran Slackware for a little while, and then I immediately went to Gentoo. And as soon as I installed Gentoo the first time when I was like 17, I didn't go back. Number one, the reason I didn't go back is because it took me 2 or 3 days to install the damn thing because we was on dial-up at the time, right? So it took forever. If you guys think it takes forever these days to install Gentoo, back in the day, it took days to install Gentoo. Not just a couple hours. It took days. And that was because, of our connection speeds and all that. But another reason that I run Gentoo is because I think Portage is one of the best package managers out there, okay? There's a bunch of different things that you can do with Portage. There's things that you can do with Portage that I don't even do in my configurations, but you can do those things. And really, the hardest thing about Gentoo, in my opinion, well, not the hardest thing, but the longest thing that it takes for new to Gentoo users is probably installing it, right? It does take a long time to install, I will admit. And if you're a new user to Gentoo, or if you've never installed it before, yeah, it can be a little daunting. Yeah, it can be a little tough, a little hard, right? Because if you're not used to following a handbook, then it can be a little hard. And I get it. Most Linux distributions these days uses the Calamares installer or some kind of graphical user interface installer, and it's just clicking your mouse a couple of times, right? Hit the install button and installs. So I understand the reason that a lot of people still don't want to install Gentoo because you have to read the handbook and enter in the commands exactly and everything like that. Now, another reason that I install Gentoo, or I prefer Gentoo, is that it's rock stable. Let me rephrase. It is rock stable, okay? Unless I try to install systemd on my OpenRC Gentoo, or if maybe I try to, I don't know, if I'm messed around with like GTK, some GTK stuff, that might break it. But other than that, you can't break Gentoo. Like, you really can't. I have never broken Gentoo. Ever. Ever. The only reason I have ever gotten rid of Gentoo here in my system is because I wanted to try something else. I've never broken it. And I've been running it forever. Okay? Now, what I will say about that, though, is that I don't try to do anything weird or crazy, right, on my my home system, okay? Like, I don't try to install systemd on top of OpenRC or OpenRC on top of systemd. I don't do that stuff because I know that will probably break it. All right. I don't mess around with GTK and all of that, you know, in all of those libraries, or try to install Wayland on top of X and vice versa. I don't do that because I know that might break the install. Okay. But if you're just wanting to, you know, have a rock stable system that doesn't break, that has a good package manager, then in my opinion, this is probably one of the best distributions around. Not only that, but the community is fantastic, and you can even go into an IRC chat right now if you wanted to, and there would be people in there to help you out. And they have a much friendlier community than I would say that Arch does. Now, that's not saying anything bad about Arch, but Arch fanboys, they seem to be, they seem to feel like they're entitled to something, and I don't understand why, but that's another discussion. But yeah, I mean, hey, I think that's the reason that I do run Gentoo, is just because I'm comfortable with it, and I've always ran it. So I hope that answers your question, Matt. Alright, well, if you guys have any other questions, feel free to leave those down below as well, and I'll get back to you guys. I'm sorry about the content drought. For those of you that don't know, I play an MMO game called World of Warcraft. Yes, I am a WoW player. I have been playing it. I've been playing it for a long time now, so I do have other commitments to. I'm in a guild, okay, and I have commitments to that guild during like progression and everything like that. So between work, guild progression, my wife, and everything else I have in life, unfortunately, some things have to take a back seat. Now that the WoW side of things have kind of it's dried up for, it should be dried up for a couple months here. The content here on the channel should pick back up, and then we might have a little drought, and then we'll keep switching back and forth. I'm gonna try to figure out a way how I can make both of these channels kind of work, so, you know, or both of these things kind of work here, and then yeah, hopefully the content kind of picks back up. Not only that, but sometimes it gets a little hard to make these make videos here about Linux, because I don't have, you know, I don't have a bunch of ideas. Okay, that's why I'm constantly asking you guys, hey, what would you like to see? What would you like for me to cover? Because quite honest, guys, like, other than your basic, you know, review on distributions, or just taking a look at a program or something like that, other than those type of videos, it's kind of hard to come up with an idea for a video. Okay, so please leave me something down below. Leave me a question, leave me something about what would you like to personally see here on the channel, anything, and I'll take a look at it and we'll see what we can do. Okay, but I do want to thank you guys for watching. I do really want to thank you guys for subscribing to the channel. It does mean a lot, and until next time, you guys take care, be safe, and peace. Bye, guys.